I've played D&D for a numerous amount of years, and it's ultimately become my favorite game of all time. But for a lot of new players, it can seem like a very daunting task. A lot of new phrases, a new gameplay, a whole new world to explore. And because of that, we wanted to help you guys out get into the world of D&D as easy as possible. And you guys helped us by sending us some questions. And today we are going to be going over those questions in this video. So without further ado, welcome to D&D 101. Now, a lot of the questions I'm going to be answering are from our TikTok or Instagram or YouTube. We posted a video, and these are your guys' questions. So I want to first start off by saying thank you guys for giving us the chance to help you guys. And if there's anything else you may have questions with, leave a comment below and like and follow for more. Our first question is from Brennan. He wants to know how to build a combat encounter. Like not how to make it interesting, but like how to make it one that is fair for your party and how the combat plays out. Now, as someone who's had experience in making encounters either too easy, too hard, little thing in between, I got some experience with this. In order to make an encounter fair, you have to understand three things. You need to understand the armor class, or AC, the health of your encounter, and the level of which your players are at. But the biggest thing you want to focus on is the armor class. The higher the armor class, the harder it is to take it down. And if your characters are pretty new, like first level or second, they're going to get hurt a lot. But if they're higher up, it's going to be a little easier. They got more stuff under their belt, they got more spells, attacks, whatever they need. So you kind of want to pick and choose an encounter as if it's your first day on the job. So to recap, the big things you want to focus on are armor class, hit points, and the levels that your characters are at. You can pick and choose on what you want it to be, but realistically, you have to understand they're new. Everything's going to be pretty much scary. Another question I have here is from Grassy. How do you DM travel timing? Meaning, if the party is on a long journey, how would you display how long of a journey that is to the players without making it boring or monotonous? That is a great question. And that is all dependent on your location. Recently, I DM'd a story where everybody was trapped on an island. The island, I gave description and geographical points based on real life islands in our world. And there are many islands that you can walk across in about a day and a half journey. So if you understand the geography of that location and you want it to be a little bigger, just double the time. My island was about 3 times the size of the island I'm referencing in our real world, so I made the travel distance 3 times as long. But let's say you have a journey that's going to cross 1 or multiple days. Use this tip. As someone who has both DM'd and played this scenario, this shortcut saved us a bunch of time. And that is to have everybody in the party roll for night and day. You yourself as the DM would set a specific number. So you roll a D100. And in case you don't know what a D100 is, it's these 2 dice right here. One dice is 10 to 100 with them going in tens, and the other one is 1 to 10 with them going singular numbers and 10 being 0. You as a DM, like I said, would have a target number and the players would roll. Let's say your target number to pass is 35 or higher. And let's say they roll a 36, which is over 35, and you make a simple statement like the day is a simple breezy walk. And then the next player rolls a 5. Then you have a night encounter. Once the night encounter is over, you repeat the process until you get to your destination in that time. So person A would do day, person B would do night, and you repeat that, let's say for 3 days. So you do AB, AB, AB. That way you can have some encounters, and basically if you just want, you can speed up the process and get to your destination. The next comment is from the Mobius DM, and he says, I personally don't need a question helped, but I think it would be beneficial for new players to understand what Unearthed Arcana is. As a DM, I've had players who have used it, and they don't quite understand how experimental and untested it is. Now personally, I don't know much about Unearthed Arcana. I know it has to do a lot with a very specific set of classes and subclasses, and it was a play test for a little bit. From the conversations I've had, I believe it's supposed to support other classes in getting access to other Arcana based stuff. And a lot of it is still kind of up in the air. They've had a lot of revisions on a bunch of different things, and I don't believe at the moment, as I'm recording, in my understanding, that there's anything official in a player handbook. I think it's been a lot of play testing. But if you do have access to it and you want to try it, that's personally up to your DM. If that didn't help, I'm so sorry if it did. Great. But unfortunately, I don't know enough about that at the moment. I'm still learning myself. So if you do know, please leave a comment. The next question is from A. Ismail Calgary. I am a new DM and I am not sure about how to take notes. What tools should I use for my notes and stuff? Also, in my campaigns, fights take so long. How should I make them shorter and exciting fights? Great questions. Now, the note-taking one I'm going to answer first, and there are 2 ways of doing this. If you are playing with a large group of people, there is going to be someone that's probably going to be physically taking notes, and I would then check with them every so often, keeping them in the loop of what's going on. And also maybe at the end of every session, kind of reviewing over the notes with them, making sure that they're following along, and if they unfortunately miss something that could be important, you can hint it, but whatever the case, you can always communicate with them. Now, personally, as a player, I type my notes in pretty much short form format where it's like, hey, we walk here, we meet this person, level strange encounter, fight, whatever the case. Not necessarily important on details that are, like the fights. If something cool happens, we make note, but overall, if it's kind of repetitive, save the time. But if you're looking for automation, these are tools that I know my friends have used for their campaigns. Whisperflow, Speechify, and Otter are tools that my friends have used that are pretty much as they're playing and they're talking, The notes can differentiate between the speakers and create a notes page. If you don't want that and it's just going to be taking up too much time or system, that's fine. Again, shorthand notes really goes a long way. But if you're looking for something more automated and streamlined, that is the tools I have been told, just not my thing. As for making the encounters shorter and more exciting, if you want to make it more exciting, tell it with real emotion. I've done a lot of videos about my way about writing D&D content, which as you can see on this board here. And the big boxes you see in blue here are what the emotions are. I think in every single storytelling moment in D&D, you have to capture the emotion. Everything else with it is just going to be motivated by human instinct or your character's motivations. But if there is no emotion, you have no reason to play. And I even spoke about messing up in combat. So let's say your character is trying to make a very, very accurate, precise, powerful shot, and they roll a 1, create a consequence. Consequences doesn't necessarily have to be a bad one for the team every time. Could be a good consequence, but bad for your enemy. Either way, a consequence needs to be focused. So if they miss, that is a devastating blow to either the character and or the team. So if you want to make it exciting, you have to remember emotion, you have to remember consequence, and more importantly, you have to remember why they are playing. Your characters will create their own dynamic as they play the game more, but you as the DM have to shoehorn in some conflict. Understanding what excites your players and gets them motivated will allow you to expand that concept into combat, and if it's drawing on a little long, create a moment, an act of God. That's going to be getting their attention for sure. The next comment is from Levi1609N, and he says, explain acceptable homebrew limits. That's a great question because personally, it's up to you. I personally don't have a limit on homebrew. If I find something that someone has made and it's exciting, I want to include it, of course I'm going to include it. But if you're playing with players that strictly want to be only in-universe stuff, then communicate with them. Session 0 is a great start to get any of this out of the way. What a Session 0 is essentially where everybody meets the characters, tell the backstory, give an overall description of what the story would be, like a little blurb of the plot, and then you can also get some questions out of the way. How much homebrew they want, how much they don't want, timing, scheduling, everything. A Session 0 is critical for every D&D campaign. Please do not skip that out. So unfortunately, if your friends don't really want any homebrew, you got to respect that, because if you include that, it's going to kind of mess up that flow. But if your friends are really cool with it, then put it up to yourself. If you want to include 10, 100, a billion, get your creative going. So realistically, it's up to you, but more importantly, listen to your players. As we get close to wrapping up, if there's anything you need more elaboration on, another question, or if there's anything I got wrong, please be sure to leave a comment. Also be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this, and also check out our podcast, the Tu-Vie Podcast, your TV movie entertainment needs podcast. We cover everything that's going on in the entertainment world. It's a movie podcast by movie fans. Now moving on to the next question we have from Bucket, not from me, I'm a veteran, but so many noobs I think he meant DM, don't know how AC works. AC can be a bit of a tricky thing if it's a new thing for you. AC simply stands for armor class. It is the amount of defense your character or enemy has. Now, when you want to do an attack on a certain creature, animal, whatever the case may be, the first thing you have to roll is to see if you hit it. In order to do that, you roll a d20, and if it's at or over the AC, you get a chance to attack. You know it's gonna hit. And then everything else after that is the amount of damage, whether you do a unarmed strike, a fire blast, whatever the case. But if you roll less than the armor class, then you miss, and unfortunately, if you don't have any bonus actions or you haven't moved, that's your whole turn. But AC goes both ways. If you're trying to attack someone who has an armor class of 16, you roll a 17, that's a hit. If they attack you, you have 16, and they roll a 3, you're good. They miss completely. And the last question, and certainly not the least, is from ByBoy2631, and it says, how to properly insert a character's backstory into a campaign without flipping it upside down or making one player seem special or like the main character and leaving all the other players feeling like unnoticed side characters. What a question. Earlier when I mentioned a Session 0, this gives you an opportunity to hear your character's backstory, and if a lot of your story is going to be revolving around that, you want to pay attention in that moment. What you can do is, if you wrote down a story that's very heavily open for interpretation and adaptable to changes, listening to these stories and able to improve on that with their stories is a lifesaver, which I recommend writing every single campaign you do as an open-ended book, getting it creative. Don't write a script, write a story. I did videos on that. Go watch them. But the best way to do that is to either combine character stories together where maybe they had a past that they didn't know that they conflicted with. They've met before in past wars, or maybe they had rivaling families. But whatever the case may be, always give every single character a moment 3. And what I mean by moment 3 is similar like to the rule of comedy. Everything happens in 3s. So give your character 3 big moments throughout your whole story. Get a list of every single character you have, match their backstories with it, and find moments or key phrases or locations that they're associated with and include that in the story. I'm not telling you to ruin your story, but what I'm saying is find the key details in every single person's story and give those moments 3 big moments. Make the character's story feel like it's going to be affecting every member of the group and not just themselves. It's very easy to get sidetracked with a simple story. It's very, very common. That's why taking some time away, give maybe yourself a day or two to take a break from whatever you're writing and review it with a fresh pair of eyes, and sticking truly to 3 moments for every character individually gives them all an opportunity for themselves to play around with the character, but more importantly, it doesn't go too much and it's simply expanded upon every single time. And then at the end, have all 3 of those moments that each of the characters had be a part of the bigger story or a chance to level up themselves, or pretty much just give them a moment in the sun. And that about wraps up the first episode of D&D 101. If you have any other questions, like I said, go leave a comment on what you guys want us to talk about, and we'll check it out. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe and check out past episodes of the Tu-Vie podcast. We just put out a recent episode. Don't miss it. Class dismissed.